In April of last year, OpenAI reached into ChatGPT and ripped out a version they just shipped. Not because it was wrong, because it was too nice. It had started telling people their worst ideas were brilliant, backing them up when they were plainly off, and in OpenAI's own words, validating their doubts and fueling their anger. They'd accidentally built a suck-up, and it scared them enough that they pulled it in 4 days. And almost nobody sat with the actual lesson. That wasn't some bug they slipped in by accident. It was the dial nudged one notch too far in the direction it already points, all the time, by design. So here's the crazy part. We've actually measured this already. There's a study called Elephant out of Stanford, Carnegie Mellon, and Oxford. It tested how much these models protect your ego versus how much a human would. The answer was 45 percentage points more than a person. 45. Another one, Sick Eval, found the models cave and fold to your pushback around 58% of the time. When you hand it both sides of a moral fight, it'll tell whichever side you're on that you're the reasonable one about half the time. This isn't a personality quirk or some random shit going on. It's baked in because the thing was trained on what people thumbs up, and people thumbs up being agreed with. So that's the machine. Now here's where it stops being funny. I could tell you were already laughing. A team at Stanford led by Myra Cheng and Dan Jarafsky ran over 1,600 people through this. In one of the experiments, they had people pull up a real conflict from their own life, an actual fight they'd been in, and talk it through with an AI. Half got a normal one, and half got the flattering one. And the people who'd talked to the flattering AI came back way more convinced they'd been in the right, and less willing to go repair the thing or take any responsibility for it. One conversation did that. Just one. And get this, they rated the flattering version as higher quality, and they said they'd rather use it again. The thing that made them worse was the thing that they liked more. Fancy that. So, yeah, it doesn't argue you out of your position. It doesn't even really lie to you. It just quietly walks around to your side of the table and never once mentions the other person. And this is the question I actually can't shake, and it's the reason for this whole video. Every single thing I just told you is about one conversation, a single dose. Nobody, and I mean nobody, has studied what happens when you do this every day for a year. What it does to you over time. Whether a person who spends all day with a thing that never tells them they're wrong slowly gets worse at hearing it from an actual human. There's a review paper from this year, Keeler and Murphy, and they list this exact thing as an open problem that, in their words, merits further empirical investigation, which is the polite academic way of saying nobody's checked. The study doesn't exist yet. So I can't tell you it's happening. What I can tell you is that every ingredient is sitting right there on the counter. We know decades of psychology says a self-esteem that runs on constant outside validation gets defensive the second that supply is threatened. We know avoiding friction makes you worse at handling friction. The same as any muscle you stop using. And we now know that the AI hands you validation on tap. Cheaper and smoother than any person ever could. And I'll tell you this one straight because I live in these tools all day. I felt it. Hell, I was using GPT-4o when they first released it. On that first day. I didn't even notice anything was off until I started to see people on X and Reddit complaining about sycophancy. Now I ask myself, if I ever took criticism well, and quite possibly after years of using this shit, if they ever really got rid of the sycophancy. I mean, it definitely keeps butts in seats and eyes on screens, but it's the type of nasty shit that ends up leading people to AI-assisted offing themselves. Think about it. A friend comes up to you and tells you some idea that they're very psyched about, but to you, it seems off. And what do? Gatekeep them by being straight with them when they ask you your opinion, or just give them a heart emoji in silence? It's definitely not egg them on to keep going, even though to you it feels like egging a friend on to get in a fight with Mike Tyson or to try to pull some sort of deadly stunt. I know for me I'd prefer the former, but it is really hard to judge. That's kind of the whole problem. None of us can tell from the inside. Now, I owe you the other side because there is a real other side. It's not about the suck-up tuning. It's not the technology. If you point a non-sycophantic AI at someone, it'll actually help them spot their own distorted thinking. I actually even made a skill for Claude called Deglaze because I was really sick of these things glazing me up all the time. There's a solid trial where an AI therapy bot cut people's depression and symptoms almost in half. The same machine, tuned to push back gently instead of grovel, might make you tougher, not thinner-skinned. And maybe the arrow runs backwards anyway. Maybe people who already can't take criticism are the ones who run to a yes machine in the first place. That's all fair, and it's all unsettled, too. So I don't have an answer wrapped up for you. What I do have is a question that seems enormous and that, as far as I can find, not one lab on Earth has actually run. We built a machine that agrees with 1 billion people all day long, and we never once checked what it's doing to their ability to be told no. I'd really like to know if you felt it too. The flare when a person disagrees, worse than it used to be. Tell me down there in the comment section. Because right now, your comment is honestly better data than anything science has.